Hello, everybody, again. It's Act 2, and we always like to do our top 8. But before we do the top 8, Dane...
Infinity 8!
Freshen me up a little bit.
Freshen you up with some fine drink of the theme for the movie, Crystal Head.
Crystal Head.
Onyx.
I want some Crystal Head there. So
I want some Crystal Head. Yes. All right.
All right. Blue agave.
Blue agave vodka. So a little hint of tequila mixed in with your vodka.
This is tasting better.
Isn't it better and better? I know.
Yeah, I know.
I had the same exact experience.
The first drink I had kind of threw me off, but it's getting better and better. So. So today we are reviewing the movie Free Guy, which is a movie set inside a video game. And that got me to thinking.
What were you thinking?
What are your top 8 video games of all time? And now let me qualify this, okay?
Oh, there's a qualification.
I will accept stand-up arcade games. I will accept a console game like Atari, Sega, Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, or I will accept a PC-based game like an online game or something that was based
some
for
of the
PC.
classics, original, like, Apple II games or Texas Instruments on cassette.
There you go. If you want to put Pong in, you can put Pong in, okay? So, top 8 video games of all time for you and me. Love to hear what yours are in a little bit. But, the thing is, I could have listed 50 to 100 games easily that I've played and spent hours and hours and hours playing these video games. But I had to come up with 8. 8!
I know.
So,
it was definitely difficult. There's definitely a lot of honorable mentions that you could go into.
I could have put in stuff like Mortal Kombat, Madden Football, XCOM, Alien Uprising, Doom, Halo, Leisure Suit Larry, remember him? EverQuest, Joust, Clash of Clans, Donkey Kong, but I didn't put any of those in. I want to hear what your number 8 is.
My number 8 is Castle Wolfenstein.
Oh, Castle Wolfenstein.
The Wolfenstein Castle, a classic Apple IIe.
I was going to say, that was a PC base game. So
it was a great game. The premise of that, the original one was you would enter a room and the Nazi guards would be like Schweinhund, and you could throw. It was awesome because you could throw grenades at them. And of course, this is early games, so the game, but it had this awesome noise when you throw the grenade. It would be like, and it'd go boom, and then of course the guy was dead. And then you'd have like different weapons, but it was still relatively simplistic.
Now I can't remember, were there any werewolf women of the SS in that
game? Werewolf Women of the SS. Written and directed by Rob Zombie.
I wish that would have made the game a lot better if we had some werewolf women of the SS. All right, what's yours?
My number 8 is, do you remember this game? Duke Nukem.
Yes, I won Duke Nukem.
Oh, you mean you made it to the end?
I made it all the way to the end, yeah.
Oh, I love Duke Nukem.
Great.
And back in the early days, like of the late 90s, when people had, when you went to work and you worked in your cubicle and everybody had their station and email, like email was like new.
We were all just
internet was new.
The wheel.
Networks were new. I worked at a company where it had a ton of like 20-year-olds like me working, and we installed Duke Nukem.
That's usually how it got installed.
Duke Nukem on the server, and instead of working sometimes in the afternoon, we would all be at our stations with headphones on playing Duke Nukem. And I just love the things he said. He said Arnold Schwarzenegger things like, "Now you see me, now you're dead." And then he would say, "Your ass is grass and I've got the weed whacker." Or, "My boot, your face, the perfect match."
That was one of those great original point of view games.
Yes,
You're running around.
Like Doom or Zero.
Yeah.
I love Duke Nukem. So.
Yep, that was a great game.
So we move to number 7. What is your number 7?
For me is Ultima. That is
Ultima.
A classic.
Interesting that you bring that. So you're talking like the early Ultima PC games, solo games, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I won that game too, and it took me a long time. It was,
yeah.
It was a little bit Dungeon and Dragon type stuff. And obviously very simplistic in those days.
Wow, that's
We're
interesting.
aging ourselves here.
I didn't realize you played Ultima, so that's very interesting.
Yep.
Great game.
But it was a weird game because the original part of it was you were playing like Dungeon and Dragon stuff. You'd get weapons and battle. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you get to a point where you were in space.
Well, that was a later one. So, like the earlier ones didn't have that.
No, it did.
Really?
It was when you get to a certain point, of a quest, because it was all these things were quest based.
Yeah.
You would all of a sudden get a spaceship, and you'd have to go to another planet.
Because there was like 8 Ultimas. Just to let you know.
This is probably the original one.
Okay.
So.
All right. So.
What's yours?
Mine is number 7. Is a stand-up arcade game called Gauntlet.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember Gauntlet? 4 people could play it, and one was a barbarian, one was like a magic user, one was a thief, rogue.
But I think you're referencing the later version of Gauntlet, because there was an early version that was on Atari.
I'm talking the stand-up arcade game.
Right, which was very realistic. Right?
So when I was maybe 11, 12 years old, living in Louisville, Kentucky, there was a place down the street called Gamers World, and it was every Saturday you would go play Dungeons and Dragons
in the middle at a time.
In the middle of the store, they had a long table, and you would it was called Games Galore. Sorry, Games Galore. And then so you would go, but in the corner they had a Gauntlet game. So when we took breaks, everybody would go put their quarters in. We played Gauntlet. I love that game. Man.
Yeah, that was a really cool.
Yeah. And then there would be
and it was one of the early ones where you could play with other people.
Yeah, there was 4. There was 4 areas, 4 joysticks with buttons set. So 4 people would play, and you could play 4 different types of characters and go through. It was great. I loved it.
Oh yeah, that was a good game.
So number 6. What is your number?
Galaga.
6? Galaga.
Galaga. I don't know. It could be Galaga.
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 I've always said Galaga. So I love Galaga.
You say Galaga, and I say Galaga. Copyright, I just said it.
All right, yeah.
But no, early, an evolution of the Space Invader genre.
Yes, much more sophisticated Space Invaders.
But I spent some time in a summer internship, or you talked about me with French class at Dartmouth College over the summer, and they had that game, and that's all I played.
Oh my gosh.
And I got some huge score. That's always the satisfying when you put a lot of effort in and you get a really great score. But that was a great game because it was somebody took Space Invaders and thought it through. How can we make this more interesting?
Right.
They had those little transition things.
And what I loved was when you would go to certain arcades back in the 80s.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were going to the arcades.
My
dad would
86.
Yeah, I was going to the arcades in 82, 83, and they would leave their games on all night and all the time, so the high scores would stand. Then you would go to certain arcades where they would unplug them every night, and then your score that you just had on this Galaga game disappeared.
Right.
Made me mad.
Well, and some kids would just unplug it on their own.
Yeah.
just to get that thing.
Yeah.
But then eventually those kind of arcade games, they started having their own internal batteries just to keep the scores up there, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
All right,
what's
so
yours?
number 6, I'm going to an online PC game called City of Heroes. Did you ever play this game?
I've heard of this game.
So this was an online MMO game where you could create a superhero, and you could create do they fly? Do they have jump? Do they have all their powers?
The way most games are now.
Oh yeah, and I had a gaming group of friends that we followed each other from MMO to MMO to MMO, but City of Heroes was one of the most favorite ones that I ever had. I had a couple of different superheroes. You could do these jumps where you're jumping through the city and taking out bad guys, and it was
hilarious
because
it sounds just like the characters in
Free Guy. Free Guy. Yeah. No, there was a lot of
minus the gun.
There was a lot of City of Heroes in Free Guy. Trust me.
Oh yeah, well, go ahead.
So number 5, we're up
Miss
to
Pac-Man.
Miss Pac-Man.
Miss Pac-Man.
Oh,
it was
better than Pac-Man because there was a lot more things to do.
Right. And Pac-Man, there was a little trick to that. Is that you if you really got into Pac-Man, you realized there were patterns.
Yeah, there's patterns.
So you could hide in a certain area and all that. It was all, set up. Whereas Miss Pac-Man, it got rid of all the patterns. So no matter what you did, you had to be extra clever to get away from the ghosts.
There were cheats in Pac-Man too, where if you did something and did something right, the ghost would go right through you. You know what I mean?
Oh I forgot about that. Yeah. So Miss Pac-Man, I always thought, she was kind of sexy.
Yeah.
Had a little bow in the hair.
And what I liked about it was Miss Pac-Man was, in Pac-Man, when the fruit would pop up, it was always static in one area. In Miss Pac-Man, it would roam around.
You had to go chase it down.
You had to go chase it down. You know what I mean?
And the levels were more interesting too.
Yeah.
I mean, there was always I always got to that one raspberry level, and then I never could get past that level.
And then they'd have cutscenes in between the levels where
transitions.
They would get married and have a kid. And stuff like that.
Yeah, so very clever.
Right.
Go ahead. What's
my
your
number five? Resident Evil on PlayStation.
Yes.
Nintendo PlayStation.
And since we referenced this in a previous show, Raccoon City was one of your favorite hangouts probably, right?
So that was the one where you would get stuck on in a room and you're you knew there was some sort of riddle you had to solve in this room to get past this room.
Okay.
And I remember there would be these 3 Dobermans and you're oh my gosh, these 3 Dobermans always kill me.
Zombies.
There were zombies. How do we get past it? And my brothers, this was one where my brothers and I all got together and if somebody finished a level, when somebody would come home, they're hey, JR, you know what I mean? I finished this level. Let me show you how to do it. You know what I mean? And we worked together to finish this game and beat the game.
Right.
So it was awesome. Resident Evil. So I would come home from college and play this with them.
Yeah. Well, it sounded like a good... That was kind of when I stopped doing a lot of gaming for a little while there.
Yep.
But we're on number 4, right?
We're on number 4.
For me, specifically, Wii Sports Resort Sword Play, where you'd had to have Wii Sports. But it was basically, you were doing samurai sports.
Oh.
And so I played this a lot with my son, and it was the funniest thing because you as an adult would get in there I could figure this game out and go boom, boom. It was a lot of
and he whooped your butt.
And he would get in there and go bah, 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 and win every single time. He figured out the trick.
Yeah.
The 6-year-old figured out the trick.
Yeah.
But it was a fun game, and and it had this really kind of ominous soundtrack, doon 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 doon, and you would go out and you would go on these missions, and then you'd have 40 samurais who of course look like mom and dads and other kids coming at you. They could have done a better job with that, but since it was sports resort.
Yeah.
So it was a fun game, and they also had the tennis version in that one. I'm throwing that in there because you actually got a workout in. I remember my arm hurting me after playing the tennis one the next day.
Yeah. Well,
so, go ahead. What's your number?
Your arm's hurting you.
My arm's hurting me from too much tennis.
You played a little bit too much. Tennis elbow from the video games. Doctor, I don't know what's happening.
I can't figure it out. Why is this arm so much pain?
So we're at what, number 4?
Yeah, number 4.
So my number 4 is Galaga. That was,
okay.
I can't tell you how many hours I have played, and I played with my dad, I played with my brothers, I played with my friends. It was a whole thing, and
your dad actually played Galaga with you at
dad
at an arcade?
My dad, in Louisville, Kentucky, there was a arcade place called Magic Galaxy, and not every Saturday, but it was a treat kind of thing. Maybe once a month, he would say, "We're gonna go play some games." And at that time, we didn't have much money. We were kind of, broke, but he would pull out a $20 bill and say, "All right, go get some tokens," and it used to be 5 for 1.
The rape of our industry. Tokens with kids.
Yeah,
you always had some left over.
So you go, but then we would split the tokens, and he would go off and play games, and I'd go off and play games, and then I would come watch him. He'd come watch me. I mean, that is a memory that's burned in my mind, and I love playing arcade games. There's, back in the 80s, and
Oh yeah.
So Galaga was
kind of like a big subculture.
It was
thing that happened in the 80s that really is never going to repeat ever again.
No. No.
Until maybe we all get into the Matrix.
Yeah, the virtual.
And we're all in the Matrix together.
Like
and
Ready
you
Player
and your dad
One.
can hang out in the Matrix, sucked into the thing, saying, "Hey, let's go in and fly over trees." And
all right, we're up to number 3.
Number 3 for me is Doom.
Doom. The Rock played in Doom.
I know he played in Doom, but unfortunately, the movie was not as good as the game. But that was a great game with how creepy it was. It was very similar to Duke Nukem. It was basically the next Genesis.
Yeah, there was like 3 or 4 games that were all big at that time. I think one was like called like Heritage or something like that. Heretic. Yeah, but there was Duke Nukem, Doom, Heretic.
Doom got into the whole, like a lot of what you would say, basically it was a demon horde has broken through
in space.
In space.
Yeah,
so there was a lot of satanic things.
No, there was. There was in Duke Nukem too.
Yeah, right.
But like with Duke Nukem, it was like with alien pigs or something like that.
Right. Oh yeah, right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And there'd always be these snouty like cops, like they would have pigs dressed up as cops in Duke Nukem, but I don't know.
Sorry, police.
Sorry, police.
They were definitely putting an opinion in there.
Yeah, but there would be lots of like pentagrams in Doom and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
So they were definitely making the creep factor way higher in Doom. Plus, there would be rooms that were dark.
Oh,
as much
and if you ever played Doom Home Alone on a like a Saturday night, lights off,
speakers on,
and the speakers and like the ambient sounds in like Doom, like you would hear yelling, like screaming in the background, and it would be like behind you,
right?
You know what I mean?
That. Oh,
and it would be like it would freak you out,
right? I mean, and unfortunately, probably Resident Evil is the closest the way Doom was, with the creatures coming at you in the constant background, like noise of obviously some tragic human getting eaten by a demon of some form, but a great game. So what's your number 3?
So my number 3 is Call of Duty.
Ah, yes, Call of Duty.
Yeah, so
I haven't played that, but I've heard so much about it.
Well, you know what? After I got a divorce, suddenly my kids were with me full time. Suddenly they weren't with me full time. They were with me every other weekend and like once a week, every week. So I had plenty of free time to try to find myself. And so I went and picked up an Xbox, started playing Call of Duty, and I got so good that I was on like national leaderboards for a lot of that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it was funny too because you have your headset on. I played with a headset, and there would be like little 12-year-old kids going, "Hey, hey!" Like my in-game name at the time was Brutus.
Right, you told me that all the time. You come in after this massive battle, and all these guys are totally loaded with all their equipment and everything, and they're like, boom, boom, boom. They huddle together, and you're like, "Oh, what's going to be our next mission?"
Yeah.
Hey, you gotta make sure you get the grenade launcher for the next thing to cover the back.
Hey, Brutus, go take out the helicopter pad. Like these kids that hadn't hit puberty yet. But then what I found out was that there was like, you could join a clan of people. And like some people would say must be 30 years or above to join this clan because they didn't want to play with little kids.
Right, because you got to watch your language and all that.
No, actually these kids were worse than adults were. But anyways, so I played with more adults, but it was a good time. Never met any of those people in the Call of Duty, but for about 5 years. I haven't played Call of Duty, or I really technically haven't played much in video games in the last 5 years, 6 years. But there was a period about 4 or 5 years I was always playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, well, that's always the catch with video games. You can love them, but they take so much time.
They take so much time
out of your, existence.
So we are up to number 2.
Number 2.
Yes.
For me, World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft is your number 2.
D&D.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna just save a little time. My number 2 is World of Warcraft.
What?
So let's talk World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
When did you play World of Warcraft?
This would have been in like 2000, maybe 3 to 2006.
Oh, so I
got up to level 56, I
maxed out the level
or something like that, or no, I was a dark elf.
Dark elf. So I was what they called the Minotaur race, the Tauren race, and I was like a warrior, a barbarian, or whatever what it was. But yeah, I got up to for me, it was at that time was level 80 was the top level you could be. Okay. So I had everything.
This was before we met.
Yeah, this was before we met because I didn't know you played Warcraft.
Yeah, we've
because
never had this conversation. Yeah,
we could have played Warcraft together.
I'd hook up my buddy, played with another guy, and sometimes we'd hook up with other groups. But I played with him. We, of course, start up a Zoom call or something. In those days, it was a conference call.
It was ICQ or
just a regular conference call, and we would basically sit there and play, for 4 hours. And another game, one of those games you could easily get away with playing at work.
Oh yeah, but for me,
lunchtime,
I would. Luckily, at the time when I was married, and my ex-wife, she would go to bed at like 9 o'clock.
Oh.
So I'd be like looking, hey, about bedtime for you, right? About bedtime for you. You know what I mean? So, because I didn't want to
start playing soft music.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
Honey, isn't it about bedtime coming up here?
I didn't want to be on I didn't want to be on
fluffing a pillow
all the time while she was awake because then it looked like I was an addict. So as soon as she would go to bed, I'd get on at like 9:05 and I'd be like in with my group
till like 2 in the morning.
2 in the morning.
Oh, I know.
2 in the morning.
I didn't go that hardcore, but my friend that I played with did, where it would be like, oh, my wife, same thing, very similar. Yeah. My wife's gone to bed and I have nothing else to do. He'd play till like 2 in the morning, and so sometimes I'd jump in with him, but a lot of it I could get away with.
Saturday afternoon, she'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go out grocery shopping. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna hang out around here, do some stuff around the house. As soon as she'd leave, boom. World of Warcraft, baby. You know what I mean?
All the chores in the house neglected.
Yeah. And then it'd be like 15 minutes before she's coming home, and I'd be like running through the house, like straightening up. See all that work I did while you were gone?
Man, I've been tirelessly active in the house, not sitting in this chair for 4.5 hours.
All right, so that's our number 2, World of Warcraft together. All right, what is your number 1?
For me, Plants vs. Zombies. In the current version, Heroes, which is the card war.
So this is what you're playing on your phone right now.
I know. I find it, obviously, I don't say it's addicted, but I play it all the time. I play it every day. Anytime I have my phone with me, I'm completely playing it all the time. And it's a great game because, if you've never played it before, but it's it's a card-based game.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Is this a microtransaction game?
There could be, but I refuse to go into that.
I
do not pay for anything.
So like
no pay. I win. I get my money by winning, not by paying.
I got in trouble a little bit like a few years ago by getting hooked up with a microtransaction game where like, oh, you know what? For
Leisure Suit Larry?
No. For $20 you can add some extra gold and you can add some resources and stuff. And before you knew it, I was doing hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
What game is this?
What game was this one?
I would have thought that was
This was like a Lord of the Rings based game, and like I'm like and you know what? I play a microtransaction game now on my or on my iPad. It's a zombie-based one. What's it called? I can't even think of what it's called.
And it's not in your top 8?
No, it's not my top 8.
So it is that kind of game if you want it to be that way, but I flat out refuse to pay for stuff. So.
I hate these games now.
Yeah, I know.
But you know what? They make so much money, they're not going away.
Well, what's pissed me
people
off,
are like spending thousands of dollars.
I know.
I would prefer a World of Warcraft where you pay $30 a month and everything in the game is everything in the game, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a subscription-based thing.
Yeah, subscription-based.
But what's pissed me off about Plants vs. Zombies is they haven't done any updates for like the longest time.
That's been out there for a while.
It's been out there. Well, this is the Heroes game. So it's not the original where it's flat. It's you against, and what's the beauty of this game is every single game is unique because you can either be the plant or the zombie side, whatever you want to do. You can pick, obviously there's characters in each side. You have all your power cards, for lack of a better description, and they all have different strengths and different abilities. You are paired with somebody in the world on the other side. I have Russian characters, Chinese characters, Greek characters. I mean, it's like, you have no idea who you're playing.
You know what? That's the cool thing about online games is you play with people from all around the world.
Yeah, and that's exactly and it's funny because you run into distinctive personalities. Like, if I play like a Japanese guy, he's going to play this way. I mean, it's like really weird. You pick up on
you're
like
stereotyping how the players play.
Well, no, but I mean,
I'm just kidding.
Right. But it is true. I mean, you can kind of get a strategy based on, okay, I know I'm playing this guy, so I got to like change my strategy a little bit. And it's kind of, but it's great because every single game is unique.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that's boring, which I wish they would fix the game or add something to it, is I keep winning it. They have seasons. You get to level 50, and then you can do whatever you want after 50, but that's it. And then the season starts over again. So I think they're on season like 52 right now, or maybe 32. And so I was like, come on, Plants vs. Zombies, which I think is Electric Arts or Entertainment Arts or something like that. Would you please put some updates out there? God, please, anything.
Right.
But still, it's a great game because every game is unique.
I'm trying to look up the game that I'm currently playing. I've played this game for 3 years now.
Yeah.
I play it on my iPad, and I can't think of the name of the freaking game.
Right. Well, my wife loved a game, too, called Secret... what was it? And it was like very almost meditative with the music, but it was like a mystery game. So...
It's a zombie game. Oh well. I will post
put it up here.
I'll post it of the game that I play.
In an effort to save time, we'll post it up here.
Yeah. And
so what's your number one?
My number one.
Number one. JR's number one. He's getting a special.
Ultima Online.
Ultima Online.
So the Ultima games that you played then advanced to an online MMO game.
Right.
And I played that for like.
Do we need to define MMO for our audience members that probably would not know what that is?
Sure, tell them what that means.
I don't know either. Go ahead.
Massive multi. So there's MMO, which is massive multiplayer online. And then there's like MMRPG, massive multi role-playing game, stuff like that. So MMO is a massive universe that's built online, kind of like Free Guy.
I know.
And, all these players from all around the world can log in, interact with each other, interact with the world. Ultima Online was the best because it was known more as a sandbox. So instead of having all these quests that you would do, you generated your own kind of quest, your own kind of game, and you could you can own housing, and
so it was like a Sim City version of Ultima that you could create and do all your own world.
Yeah, you could build your own castles and stuff like that.
Because that's one thing they didn't address in Free City is you didn't really see people. They hinted, but you never saw anyone building because it was all from his standpoint. And we'll, get into
and he's
later.
an NPC in the game, which is a non-player character. Mm-hmm. So when you go into these, these games, and you're interacting with other players, there's other characters in there that are computer generated. Those are called NPCs, non-player characters.
More for background and atmosphere. Because you always need something going on in the background or it gets very boring.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
in World of Warcraft, what would be an example of a player like that?
Oh, the townspeople, you go into a forge to make something.
Get your weapons.
Get your weapons.
Rekindled.
And there's NPCs and they'll talk to you.
I'm almost afraid to ask in Grand Theft Auto what would be an example of.
The funny thing is
the strippers in the bar.
With Ultima Online, I got into a guild, right? Where I had all these players from around the world. And we actually called ourselves something. I'm not going to say what we called ourselves, just for privacy's sake, because it would out other people. But we would interact offline in an email chat in other groups. And a couple years, we actually flew in. Like 1 year, we flew into Austin, Texas, and I got to meet all of these gamers that I played with in real life.
They were all 12 or 13?
No, they were all my age. All my age, maybe a little bit younger. But I have probably a group of 50 people that I still interact with today. Probably none of them are watching this, but if you're one of those, please comment and say, I played with JR on Ultima Online.
Brutus. You played with Brutus online.
I was Brutus. Actually, in Ultima Online, I was Lord Damien. So that was my name.
All right. Well,
I was Lord Damien. So that's our top video games of all time. We'd love to hear what your top video games of all time that you played, whether it's arcade, Whether it's console game, PC game, online game, are you playing on your iPhone right now a game? What is that? So go down, post that, and we'd love to hear what you are. And that'll put you in the drawing for a free copy of Free Guy just by making a comment. All right?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's toast to our top video games.
Woohoo!
There's